Yeah, strange that I can only watch myself in these tiny fragments, even with the intention of being truly candid. I'm scripted. I fell in love with a boy a long time ago, and I used to write him these long letters. The letters were usually typed up first, and then I would meticulously edit them and then rewrite them as neatly as I possibly could. So if I fucked up, I had to start over because I couldn't bear the thought of having to stretch something and black it out and having that imperfection tarnish the whole piece. And censorship always felt so close to perfection, always, rejecting the candidness and animation of the self and my own work. Even if someone captures my face in a picture, I feel instantly violated if they show me what they captured. Strange. I've also begun a strange habit this week. I've always talked to myself and found it quite meditative, to say the least. But I've begun to talk to myself as if there's a camera there. I look towards it, I acknowledge it, and I'll present to it something. Some mornings it's my makeup routine, or some mornings it's a bag haul that I've recently bought. I'll go through each item. I interject laughter even sometimes to make it seem more real. And it's in these times that I feel myself being, yet also witnessing myself, everything that I'm doing. My mind switches back and forth between watching me as if I'm a spectator and actually playing this role. So today I went through probably an hour of doing this before I realized that I wasn't actually doing anything. Over that hour, I'd pulled pretzels, vegetable stock, and other dried goods out of this bag in front of nobody other than myself. I'd gone into meticulous detail about how I organized my closet and kept on looking over my shoulder as if to address this presence that I was talking to. It was a complete mental simulation. But I would look over and I saw the camera. And I was required to perform to it. I don't even remember what made me break my performance anymore. And that's really what it is, though. It's a performance. I'm kind of having some hopes and some creative inclinations to use these weekly videos as obviously monitoring my process and my own intimacy with the camera and my reflection, but also as an opportunity to explore these roles that we put before the camera. I hope to become a tourist of these roles, in which I can try something on and become for a moment the people that I watch, the people that willingly record themselves in front of the camera and explore that intimacy daily. I guess we'll see how I continue to further this play. This week I finished a reading by Martin Jay on the scopic regimes of modernity. He goes into basically three distinct, historically prominent, philosophically rooted practices of seeing and observing. First being Cartesian perspectivalism, and then Baconian observation, which is heavily rooted in photography, brings into question the fragmentariness of photography in that there's this screenshot that we look through and it's, this illusion of truer vision. But really there is this conscious act of other things playing out beyond that frame. But there is the illusion of it capturing nature that is unaided by man. And then finally, the Baroque regime, in which there is an emphasis in the evolution of the madness of vision. You know, abstraction comes into play, and multiplicity in vision focuses that there are eccentricities, and that sublimation comes before beauty in the hierarchy of the senses, of sight, really, as a sense, I suppose. Got me thinking about my own work and its relationship to these regimes. I mean, certainly Martin ends on a note in which we should accept these regimes and their multiplicities and complexities, and not try to use one to denounce the other, that they all have their value within the practice of observation. But that acknowledgement leaves very little room for advancement in thought. It's a docile position to put yourself in as an intellectual, to not argue, to not find controversy, or, to not find one more beneficial than the other, and to not entertain the possibilities of technological advancements in the field. I mean, I was essentially left wondering, how relevant is that note to end on? How relevant is it when we begin to introduce the politics of the gaze and its prominence in the informational age? I mean, we can't exclude sight, gazing, or glancing as a solitary practice without the introduction of many other senses. He does open, however, or expand upon how Cartesian perspectivalism essentially gave the visual art world and the scientific world this God's eye, in that we could see and witness things on a molecular level. And, like we'd never been able to do that before. And we could reduce sight to its geometric roots. This God's eye concept is again being used, except not quite on the molecular level anymore, but on a satellite level. And I've explored that, I think, within my own work as well, and will continue to do so, that God's eye, God's eye, is being multiplied, and this multiplicity is branded with Google Earth. So in this sense, is the concept of the gaze expanding beyond human lines of sight? I mean, certainly it is. That's relatively a rhetorical question. But how do our binocular vision and our own personal conceptions of the gaze respond to this new eye? Is what I'm trying to get at. I mean, I guess I kind of left it there. I'll go back to it again in my own practice, but yeah, I left it there. I guess I'll end on one more question that I was mulling over this week. After looking at Raphael Lozano Hemmer's work Underscan, in which in public spaces he casts massive shadows of the people that walk through the spaces, and in these shadows figures appear that are pre-recorded, with the only instruction really to be that at some point you have to look in the eye of the camera. The figures appear to have an element of responsivity to the person that is casting the shadow, and it becomes this play of sorts in which both parties are unaware of the other's presence, yet seemingly aware. So I guess in this sense, the artist gives these recordings these technological projections and places them back upon within their sentient bodies. They light up the darkness of the shadows. And in surveillance, illumination always leads to this reveal, that what happens in the darkness, that what happens outside of the camera's recording abilities and view that's unable to be captured and recorded holds more opportunity and possibility for being damaging to the body. So, in that sense, how does the awareness of being observed shift our bodily interactions with ourselves, with each other, and with the spaces that we occupy? And I guess that's where I'll begin to explore my first piece, the artist as voyeur, and hopefully I can be a little more candid.